Welcome everyone to the Charles River Dam Advisory Committee meeting, September 7th, 2022. We're going to actually do a little bit of tech detail first. Maggie, do you mind just jumping in and doing that? I'll put up the slide.
Yep, so this is a Zoom webinar. So our committee members and the facilitation team are panelists. You can unmute yourself, turn on and off your camera. Observers and members of the public are here as attendees. So you cannot unmute or turn on or off your camera. When we have public comment, you can raise your hand and we'll unmute you so that you can kind of give your comment. And if you're on the phone, I think we might have one or two folks dialing in. *6 to unmute if you're a committee member, and *9 to raise your hand.
Thank you. And let's go to John Marshall to do a welcome.
Welcome everyone. Just wanted to again thank everyone for the time that they've put into this committee and the effort. I know it's been going on for several months now. It actually started before I returned back to town, so it was nice to jump in and join you all. From the meeting today, and when the report gets voted on, it will head on to the select board. The select board will be taking it up at their, I believe it's the September 21st meeting, 2 Wednesdays from now, where that report will be presented to the board, and then from there the board will make its decision moving forward. From there, it will likely involve follow-up with town administration, town staff to figure out a path forward to execute on that plan, which could involve, seeking grants that we've all talked about in the past to make this work, or seeking additional funding. So that would be the path forward and the next steps. And again, just wanted to thank everyone for their time and effort. I know it's been a lot of work. A lot of information has been gathered, so great job everyone, and thanks for your commitment to this process.
Thank you, John. Maggie, when you have a moment, can you put the agenda link in the chat? I'm going to just share what we are doing here today. We have 3 main topics of our meeting today. The first thing we're going to do is finalize and vote to approve the committee's report. All indications are that there are not really meaningful changes to make at this point. But if you have any, be thinking of them now, committee members, because we're at that moment. And then we're going to talk, as John sort of previewed, about what happens next in the next few weeks and months, and how do we prepare ourselves to represent the work that has been done here in a effective way. And then we have public comment, and we will wrap up our probably final wrap up and adjourn around 7, just depending on how long these different pieces take. A reminder, our general expectations to be concise, respectful, and constructive for everyone in this meeting. And also, Maggie, if you wouldn't mind just putting the general link to the project webpage for everyone here. You can find all the recordings, all the meeting summaries, all the work we've done since we started last year on the project webpage, if you want to look at any of that. This is the representation of our work. It's changed over time, and you can see the density of it. We are in the dark green bubble on the far right. This is meeting 14, where we approve the final report. We have just a little bit of committee business to do. I want to start by doing introductions. So committee members, for today's intro, if you would will you share your name, your affiliation, and a memorable moment from the last month, just in a sentence or two. So name, affiliation, and a memorable moment. And I'm going to call on people for that, as I often do loosely by first name, but starting in the middle. So Bill. And then it would be Claire.
I never go first. Everybody.
Aha.
Bill McDowell, town engineer. Memorable moment this month was seeing a bald eagle flying over Doug Pond while we were paving the roads in the back neighborhood there.
Wow.
Thank you. Claire and then Erin.
I also rarely go first due to my last name starting with an R, so this is great. Claire Rendelli, Town of Natick Conservation Agent, Open Space Planner. Memorable moment from the last month is that I moved, which is both good and bad in terms of memorable, but it's finishing up now and that's very good.
Nice. Erin and then Becca.
Aaron Spelker, the Natick Commission on Disability, and the memorable moment is I have an 18-year-old who just turned 18 and also became a senior at Natick High.
Cool. Becca and then Chris.
I'm Becca Stendal. I'm a Natick resident for the past 17 years now. And I think a memorable moment for me, I was up in New Hampshire alongside a shallow river with rocks, and it was beautiful and the sound was wonderful. And I thought, this is a nice free flowing river. And I really enjoyed that calming moment. It was good grounding moment.
Thanks, Becca. Chris and then Jillian.
Hi, I'm Chris Stillman. I'm with the Conservation Commission, and I guess a memorable moment would be a new puppy with my two boys up in Maine. That was a first for all of us, and it was fun.
Awesome. Jillian and then David Yancey.
Hi, Jillian Wilson Martin. I'm the Sustainability Director for the town of Natick. And my memorable moment was putting my third grader on the bus for the first time to Memorial and her not waving back to me in the window. So
Hi. David Yancey and then Mike.
David Yancey. I'm a lifelong resident. Memorable moment was the other day watching my granddaughter go to her first day of preschool.
Thank you. Mike and then Terry.
Mike Baltham, longtime resident downstream of Butter. And I guess memorable moment, I did get a chance, given the drought conditions. I thought it was a great opportunity to drop in up at Route 27 and all the way down and poured it around the dam and all the way down to Needham. So it was kind of a unique chance to see the river in its current state, and you get an appreciation of some of the topographies when it's so low. So that was memorable for me. Thanks.
Thank you. Terry and then Dirk.
Terry Evans, Planning Board Representative. And I think my memorable moment was biking for the first time on the Blackstone River bikeway, where the path takes you with the canal, for a time with canal on one side, the river on the other, and thinking of parallels and differences in how kind of the rivers are treated.
Thank you. Dirk and then Janine. Dirk, you're on mute.
Thank you. I'm Dirk Coburn. I'm liaison from the Finance Committee, and trying to choose a memorable moment. Probably, I guess I'd have to say the one I'm most excited about is 4.5 inches of rain in a little more than 48 hours, finally.
Thank you. Janine and then Martin. You're on mute, Janine.
I'm Janine Furr with the Historic District Commission, and a memorable moment for me was sitting on my terrace and a mink coming up under the table I was sitting at. I was so surprised, thinking he was going to jump on my lap. I said out loud, oh, and he thought, or I think it's a she, seemed to think, oh, and scampered away.
Awesome. Martin and then Seth.
Martin Kessel, here as town meeting representative in precinct 10, but also in a butter, downstream river butter and open space committee. And I don't know about memorable moments. It was nice to get away over the last month. We were just in the Berkshires, but we had a nice relaxing time with a lot of things to see out there.
Great. Seth and then David Bottom.
Hello, everyone. Seth Levine, Natick Parks and Rec Commission. Memorable moment, seeing Elvis Costello this month.
Wow. Thank you. David Louding and then Jeremy.
Hi, David Louding, Open Space Committee. Memorable moment for me. My daughter and son-in-law visiting from Salt Lake City and then looking at the weather and seeing that it's 103 or 104 degrees out there. So very happy they're here.
Bet they are too. Jeremy and then John.
Sure. Jeremy Marset, Director of Public Works. Lots of great moments this past month. Lots of great times with family on vacation. Haven't done any fishing in the Charles River, but just recently I did some fishing with my son, and he caught a nice good size, well, several striped bass, but on one occasion he caught one of the bait fish on the lure. And then on the same cast, the striped bass ate the lure and the small. So he caught two fish in one. So that was kind of fun.
Fabulous. John.
John Marshall, Deputy Town Administrator. I would say my favorite moment over this, or memorable moment over this last month, was a square dedication that was done in town for my grandfather and his brothers that served. It was very special to have all my family there. There were about 40 people in attendance, so it was very nice.
Wow. Lots of great moments, everybody. Did I miss anyone? All right. Thank you. We have to, let me mention public comment and how that's going to work, and then we're going to approve a couple of meeting summaries, and then we'll get into the bulk of our day. So public comment, for those of you who are attending as members of the public, we have 15 minutes for public comment today toward the end of the meeting. Right now, there are 30 members of the public in attendance, in addition to the 17 people on the panelist screen. And if you would like to make public comment, you'll have 2 minutes up to that 15-minute mark. We also shared all the written public comment that was received before sometime in the morning, maybe 10 a.m. yesterday. That's been shared with the committee, and that will be included in the meeting summary from today and posted online, so everyone can see all of that in an organized way. We have 2 meeting summaries to approve from our last couple of meetings. The July 19th meeting, a couple of committee members had suggested a few changes. So those are sort of the most significant changes we've made to a meeting summary. We added in notes about the order of when public comment happened. We added a new section describing some of the reflections that committee members shared from their public engagement and community engagement. And then we refined the sort of rationale from, you'll remember when everyone went around and shared where they were on this subject and what was most important to them. So we revised that. We also, since we sent out the draft to you, have found a punctuation thing that we'll correct. Anybody have any other suggested edits to the July 19th summary before we consider it approved? Thank you. And the July 26th meeting summary, you also received. Anything we need to change in that before considering it approved? Great. Thank you all. Let's finalize a report. Everybody take a moment. Oh my goodness, here we are. So for any members of the public who haven't been tracking along, there have been several iterations of this report. The committee most recently got it at the end of last week. From a previous version they had looked at and suggested edits individually to the facilitation team, and we had made revisions. Various committee members helped draft various pieces of it. Thanks so much to many of you who spent many hours in August working on this to make it what it is. The clean version that went out to the committee is available on the project webpage. And thank you, Maggie, for putting the link in the chat just now. So anyone can see the version that we're talking about. What we, in a few minutes, whenever, depending on what you all raise, are going to be doing is doing a roll call vote, different from how we've done in the past, because we need to do a yay nay vote on the report. So I'll just call your name when we're ready for that, if you approve the report. And but in advance of that, want to ask you all, is there anything important that you want to raise or that you think needs to be changed in this before you can approve it? Knowing it's 30 pages and you might not agree with every detail or how every comment is phrased. Anything significant you want to raise now before we do this final vote? Anybody want to make any comments then before we do the vote? We're going to just go into it. Dirk?
Yeah, when we voted before, we had, or when we gave our kind of first take, we had 4 options. And there were 2 gradations of yes, so I can live with it or I'm enthusiastic. And not knowing what we were going to come up with, I knew that I was at least where I can live with it. And while I know there are people who, among our neighbors, who probably are now, and perhaps some who will always be uncomfortable with the direction that we certainly have signaled in a supermajority. And so I don't want to use the word enthusiastic. I've moved more in that direction. And let me say, I am expecting to vote yes with confidence. And a bit of enthusiasm, though not enthusiasm about upsetting some people who are going to be upset.
Thank you. Anyone else want to share anything at this point before we take this final vote? Okay. And we're going to have time at the end of this meeting for everybody to share final thoughts with each other. So this isn't your last chance to sort of reflect on our time together. All right, I'm going to run down the list. Welcome, Kristen. I'm glad you're here. I'm going to go alphabetical by last name and just ask if you approve the vote. And at this point, it has to be, I guess, a yay nay vote because of town rules. So, Mike Balcom, do you approve this report?
Yay.
Thank you. David Blees told us he approved it and he's stuck in traffic. So he may get a chance to say that on camera in a few minutes, but we have his support. Dirk.
Yay.
Terry.
Yay.
Janine.
Yay.
Martin.
Yeah, just a little more nuanced here. We've talked about my vote and one other vote being accepting the recommendation as a live with. We can live with it as opposed to fully. So that's in the report. And we've spent actually a lot of time discussing among with Ona and Maggie and others what that actually means, because I think it wasn't all that clear. And I think what it means is contained in the report. So with that, I vote in favor of the report.
Thank you, Martin. Seth.
Yes.
David Lodding,
Yeah, I would vote yes. I would also echo Martin's comments.
yeah, and also I appreciate Martin's invitation to people to look at the report. That it was carefully crafted, and that's really an invitation to your friends and neighbors. Jeremy,
Yay.
John,
Yay.
Bill,
Yay.
Claire,
Yay.
Aaron,
Yay.
Becca,
Yay.
Chris,
Yay.
Jillian,
Yay.
Kristen,
Yay.
David Yancey.
Yay.
Thank you. Well done. I want to like play a little bit of music. You got there. Really nice work, everybody. And so thoughtful and reflective and careful, I think. So shake out. Here we go. We're going to transition into what now? And we will get a final version of this. We have like 2 typos that we're going to correct in here that people sent us ahead of time. And we will get that out to you and posted and submitted, I don't know, John, to whomever we need to submit it to on behalf of the committee. Aaron, question. Comment.
Just for the record, was the final count 16-1? Was that, did I count right?
There, everyone on the committee, and Maggie is correcting me that David Blees said in an earlier version that he would approve the report. So when he joins, we'll just confirm with him that he's okay with the report as is. But we have every committee member except for David has weighed in and said yes to the report, which is what we're voting on. Does that make sense, Aaron? And the,
I thought I heard one. I thought I heard one no, but okay.
They were, I think, indicating some of the complexity behind that and the nuance.
Okay, great.
I know we had one voting technique and then we're back to the yes, no, like black, white at the end, as required by the town.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Looking ahead, John, can I ask you one more time to share? So today is the 7th. There's a select board meeting coming up where we'll present this. Can you kind of walk us through what to expect?
Yeah, so that will be on the 21st of September. I think it would be good to, have someone present the report. Ona, I think we had maybe talked about that last week. For the board, they'll want some time to digest the report when they have it. They might have, request someone to come back and maybe answer some questions after that first meeting. Once we get the report in their hands, they're usually really good about reviewing it prior, so might be able to answer the questions right in that meeting there. But I think it is a pretty in-depth report, so they might have some follow-up questions. I actually know a number of the members have been following along with these meetings, so we're pretty in tune as to the work of the committee and what they've done. From there, once the board has reviewed it, had time to digest it, then they'll make a decision on the path forward with the dam. Obviously, this is one of the key elements that they wanted was feedback, input, public engagement that this committee has done. And then it will be working with administration to lay out the plan to tackle that path forward, which would require seeking additional funding, seeking grants, start sequencing things so that we can execute on it from design, engineering, construction, and trying to get everything sequenced in a way that makes sense.
Thank you. Can you also mention, I know that there's Article 29 going to the select board tonight that people are tracking. Can you just mention how you think that fits in here?
So it's a citizen petition that's come through. So, the board will review every warrant article that comes through the select board as well as the finance committee will. I don't want to speak for the board, but I would imagine that they, are going to be very interested in this report, as this is something that between the town administrator and town administrator communicating with the select board, something that a number of people in the community and volunteers spend a lot of time on putting together. So I'm sure that they're going to want to have that report and review that report and help informing their decision. And, with the article, with it being a citizen's petition, I really can't speak to it too much, but my thought would be that the board is, very interested in seeing this report. I've heard that from board members. So in terms of what they do with Article 29, I don't know. There's certain actions that town meeting can take, in terms of referral of articles or, doing some other things. But I think at the end of the day, whatever action, town meeting chooses to take on an article, it would then come back to the board and administration or the appropriate departments to execute on what that was. So I don't know if that answered your question or I made it a little bit more confusing. But it's a citizen's petition. The board reviews all the articles. There's a number of articles the board's reviewing this evening at the meeting. And it's just kind of part of the process of reviewing all the articles that come through. Some they will choose to endorse themselves, and others they won't.
If I could just sort of tag on to that. As John mentioned, the Finance Committee will hear this article. The Finance Committee is charged by law with hearing all articles that are accepted for town meeting, including all citizen petition articles. And petitioners or official sponsors of articles are due a full and reasonably open-minded hearing on the article. So I say that just so nobody will be shocked to see that happen. I do think that the report that we have just approved will certainly be significantly relevant information that needs to be considered in that hearing. And I shouldn't be making any sort of prognostications or pronouncements in advance of a reasonably open-minded hearing. However, I think the process we've been through speaks for itself.
Thank you, Dirk. So this is the time in our work together where we think about what has to happen so we can give a great presentation to the select board and help them see, right? Not everybody absorbs information this way, right? For those who haven't had the chance to really follow along deeply, or who are not going to have time to read the 30 pages, there ought to be a presentation. I think we're imagining there's a presentation to the select board that shares your work. And one way to do that would be to have some of you step forward to help prepare that presentation. So this is the time to talk about two possible things. One is what you think ought to happen or what's important to consider as that is prepared for the select board meeting and maybe for other meetings in the future if there are times when this group's work needs to be shared. So that's one realm of thought. The other is to consider whether you'd be willing to volunteer to be part of a small team that puts that together and or presents. So both of those questions are on the floor for some open conversation. Becca, go ahead.
I'm definitely interested in that. I mean, I think I've articulated before, part of my interest in joining this committee originally was around the community engagement and environmental communication that could come out of this. And I feel like we haven't quite gotten there yet. And so I'm definitely interested in looking at how we can do that and also bridge some of the gap or misinformation that is going around, and sort of how best to present these points in a succinct way, which not evidenced by the way I'm talking right now, but I'm really interested in that piece. So thank you.
That's great. Aaron.
Yeah, in the presentation, I just would really like to see emphasize that a key to the success of this entire area is the investment that we put in to the park area and the park land and the surrounding, what new waterway, and really to engage the community around that space, because I think that'll ease a lot of people's concerns with, a change that's going to occur in this area.
Thank you. And you saying that makes me think we didn't even really say what the recommendation is that you all just voted on. We didn't say it out loud in this meeting. So at the risk of going backwards, I'm just going to read it out loud. So anybody watching this gets the recommendation as part of what they hear, which is the Charles River Dam Advisory Committee recommends that the town of Natick remove the spillway and restore the river and invest in creating a beautiful and welcoming waterfront park that integrates the river's adjacent public lands and provides a space for the community to meet, contemplate, and enjoy. Thank you, Aaron. Mike.
Yeah, I'd be happy to help with either preparing or presenting to anyone that's willing to listen to us. I think just as my perspective on that is that we are kind of fully prepared. I think preparation is key to have the underlying data at our fingertips. I think we are going to get a lot of questions, some very informed, some misinformed. So I think it's important to have our kind of ducks in a row there. With Aaron on that, at least from my perspective, the recommendation doesn't exist without significant investment in the park system as a whole. I think with the grants available and the seeming savings of not repairing and redoing the embankment and all that, I think there's certainly room for the town to do that, and it would make sense that this may even be a more wonderful place than it is now. And then just last, I think as a committee, we need to kind of defend our rationale from everything from an ecological or budget perspective. And there should be live discussions. I know that was one of the disappointments that I hear sometimes from community members, that there isn't, with the pandemic and everything else, with the number of Zoom meetings we've had, and I know we've met as a group offsite a couple times. I think having an ability, whether it's in the finance committee or select board or town meeting, there will be plenty of time for live discussions. And as a committee, we need to be, fully prepared to defend our rationale and hopefully, in the end, create a spot that we're all proud of.
Thank you. Becca and Mike volunteering. And some good suggestions of key pieces to kind of keep at the foreground. Jillian.
I would be happy to help with preparing materials for the meeting. I think I probably speak on behalf of all town staff that we'll be happy to help support that process. And thank you for being part of the presentation aspect of it.
Thank you, Jillian. Claire, did you have a hand up for a second?
I was just trying to echo, I'm happy to help prepare presentation materials, but I do think that presenting coming from not town staff members will sort of speak more to the voice of the committee.
I think Claire can also serve an important role as our ecological expert, being the conservation agent, to answer some of those questions that come up that you were referencing, Mike, so we can make sure that we're available at those meetings as well.
Definitely.
Anyone else want to help behind the scenes or with presentations? And I want to say you're all, I think, very invited to attend the select board meeting in support of each other and this process. Of course. Carrie.
I'd be happy to help with any prep if necessary. And I just wanted to say that when I was trying to think of who would be great speakers presenting on our behalf, Becca and Mike were like the first two names out of my mouth. So I really think you are both kind of compelling, credible, and articulate.
Nice. Kristen.
Yeah, I have some fear and hesitancy about presenting, but also acknowledge that a big contribution to this process has been the Indigenous history. And I do think from a historical and just documentation perspective, I mean, I don't know, did it come across like it's a pretty profound process, especially considering the petitions of the 16 and 1700s and this kind of ongoing call for recognition. So in that sense, I do think it's somewhat a responsibility of mine, and it's pretty important to have that presentation and documentation and the ability to speak to those issues there. And at the same time, I do worry about capacity for myself, and just it is a little overwhelming to go through it, but I'm willing to struggle through that if the committee thinks that's an important contribution to the presentation.
Thank you. I see nods. Becca.
I mean, I would say for Kristen, I think, you know, the way that the voice has been contributed, I think there are other ways that we could share your voice without you having to be there and be contributing in that way. So I think I want to respect that difficulty for you, and I think we can be creative about that.
I appreciate that. So with that considered, I'm also supportive of like helping behind the scenes, and yeah, again, really appreciate that offer. Thanks.
Apparently we have to like appoint whoever these people are who are going to speak on the committee's behalf. Like you all need to sort of give them a general thumbs up. At this point, my suggestion would be that we appoint Mike and Becca and Kristen to speak and others to help them prepare. And then Kristen and Mike and Becca, you can decide who actually speaks when or how, but it gives you the flexibility to do that if it makes sense. Jillian.
Do you want that as a motion?
Yeah, can I make a comment before we do that? Which is, I think it's just to say, if you live in Natick, and maybe even if you don't live in Natick, I'm not exactly sure all the rules of town meeting, but everyone who is part of this committee, I think, can speak at town meeting representing themselves and their own personal views. So by nominating folks who represent the committee, they would be representing the committee in official capacity, but all of us are still, you know, welcome to share our thoughts in any forum within the community. So I just wanted to flag that.
Okay, town staff, do we need to appoint people who are going to help on the prep or no? Because we have town staff and also Terry sort of especially offering to help with that. But my guess is we don't, do we need to appoint them? I'm a little tiny bit confused. Go ahead, Dirk.
Yeah, sorry, I had dogs coming through, so I've been kind of time sharing, but I did want to say I think probably you know, similar to what Kristen said, you know, I feel like I represent a certain perspective that's going to be of interest, which is the financial interests, both from a cost perspective and from an asset and liability, a more balance sheet kind of perspective. And I'm happy to present that. Preparing is another question, and I'm still dealing with the very busy season. I work in an industry that the busy season is reversed. Most people get busy in the winter and less so in the summer. And I'm exactly the other way around, and it's still going on. So I can't say I can commit to being intensively or all that reliably available to prepare the materials, but I do expect that, and I've certainly articulated all along what I feel are my responsibilities in the role as liaison from Finance Committee. I'm happy to be there to advise anybody who is preparing, and I'm certainly happy to present that part of what we need to discuss.
Great. Thank you. All right, I think, what a great group. And like such great willingness after all these months to get it to this next step. So I hear the following people being willing to speak, and then and more being willing to help prepare. So potential presenters as appropriate on different pieces are Dirk, Kristen, Becca, and Mike. And also have Terry and the town staff committee members helping to prepare for all of that. I see a thumbs up. Does that sound right? Everybody good with that? We are appointing those four to present. We're going to try out all the decision making and all the process rules. Sorry, just in this one meeting, we'll do them all. Great. Thank you. I see a thumbs up. If anyone has any concerns with that, now's your chance. You can private Slack, chat me or wave me down. Nope. All right. Thank you. That is great. Stat planning team, am I forgetting anything else? I think we are at the point where we're ready. We're going to move early to public comment. Does that sound correct? I think we're done with our other pieces. All right, so members of the public, there are 27 of you. Oh, somebody suggested a 5-minute break, which I think is perfect for us to just get ready for the next piece. This also gives members of the public a chance to think if you'd like to give public comment. So we'll start at 5:50 and we'll do public comment, and then committee members, just so you know, so that we don't have to hold another meeting to approve the meeting summary from tonight, we are striving to produce the meeting summary real time so you can approve it at the end of this meeting. So wish us luck. That's coming your way. Everybody 5-minute stretch break. We will start public comment at 5:50. Members of the public, you should be able to raise your hand if you want to make public comment in the Zoom. See you all in 5 minutes. That went fast. Welcome back. Members of the public, if you are attending the session and would like to share thoughts with the committee, we have some time to do that, and would like to know who is interested in doing that. If you could raise your virtual hand to let us know, then we can figure out time as needed. Anyone want to make public comment? All right, I think The committee received 11 pages of public comment yesterday, written. So it's not to say that people haven't continued to communicate with the committee. But it looks like there is no public comment at this point today. So we are ready then to move into our wrap up. We just named the people who are preparing for the select board meeting. We at CBI are going to make these a couple typo changes in the report, remove the word draft, give it an approved date, right? Finalize that and get that to you and to the select board. We will also post the approved meeting summaries from the past couple of meetings. And are ready, I think. Maggie, you can, it's very quick. Tell me what you think. I would like to share, I think the meeting, Maggie, I'm doing this real time in front of everybody, sorry. We want to approve tonight's meeting summary and we want to give people a chance to share final thoughts. And I don't want people to be trying to do both things at the same time so that everyone can really listen to each other. Do you have a preference on when we should do the meeting summary review? I guess we have to do it at the end of the final thoughts. Sorry, I answered my own question. Thanks everyone for bearing with me. Aaron, go ahead.
Are we 100% sure that there's no public comment? I mean, this has been really an important thing to the public. I just find it really surprising that there's 30 people who've sat through this entire meeting and there is no public comment.
I know is surprising, but I think it's possible that since the vote is done and the work is done, people are going to express their opinions and work on things in different forums, right? And wanted to maybe see that. We also lost a couple of people just now, like I think now we're down to 24 members of the public, but good. I think we'll just look for if any hands go up in the next 20 minutes. We're ahead of schedule. So we can keep an eye out for that. But yeah, there doesn't appear to be.
Okay.
Thank you for asking. All right, then we are going to do closing thoughts. Everyone, committee. And we've been working together since, April last year, I think. People got appointed in February or March, and we started. We've had 14 meetings, including site visits, a lot of work between meetings on different things. I'm going to keep using, I have just this alphabetical by last name list. So I'm going to use this and give everybody, take the time you want, share any final reflections with each other, knowing hopefully many of you, all of you are going to see each other again in 2 weeks at the select board meeting. This is just the final one of this forum. So I think I'm going to go in reverse alphabetical order by last name. So that starts us with David Yancey and then Kristen after David. David, final thoughts.
Yeah, final thoughts. One is haven't been involved in a group like this. It's the first for me. It was very informative. Seemed like it was very amicable and heard a lot of thoughts that I hadn't originally come up with, but I think I have a good perspective as to where everybody's coming from. I think overall that the decision was reached a mutually decided venture. Didn't seem like anybody was pressed. Everybody had their comments, and I'm pretty happy about the process.
Thank you, David. Kristen and then Jillian.
I appreciate these opportunities to share. I feel like there's a lot of heartfelt stuff that's already been shared. I guess I'll just focus on, I really appreciate the process and the heart and contributions of everyone, like on all sides of the issue, for us to really show the way that we can work through different values and like the diversity of experience and viewpoint that we all have. At least, yeah, personally speaking, I feel really confident in that. There is a part of me that regrets a little bit that the amount of resources and time that needed to go into this, to just, yeah, be completely honest. Like, you know, we all want a beautiful park now, and think about all the resources that went into the process just to get there. So I guess with that said, it is what it is. I think it was necessary, and I'm just gonna put some thoughts and energy out there for abundance of being able to make it to the next phase, to what we all envision. Thanks.
Thank you. Jillian and then Chris.
Thanks to everyone for being on this committee. I am in a way really glad that it's ending. I'm really appreciative of everyone for their time. And I feel like I've learned so much, especially from David and Kristen. I really appreciate you being involved, and I'm hopeful that we can continue to engage your community in more decisions that we do in town. And I appreciate the thoughtful perspective you added to our conversation, and it wouldn't have been there without you. So I'm really grateful for that. And with that, I look forward to seeing the rest of you around town.
Thank you. Chris and then Becca.
Yeah, I'm not going to echo anything that I haven't already said, but I think that I've been glad to be a part of this process, and I've been happy to see how open it has been, regardless of the outcome for a lot of people. My personal perspective of seeing less anthropogenic features on a river and a natural object, that's always in the right direction in my mind. So I'm happy for it, but I'm deeply sensitive to the community that feels a loss right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Becca and then Erin.
So I'd say similar to David, you know, this is my first experience of being on a committee like this, and I really appreciate the opportunity of sort of coming out of my Natick shell and getting involved. And so I do appreciate that. I think, you know, I am looking forward in terms of where do we go from here, and how do we build on this, and bring people on board. I think that Dirk, I don't know if it was you that said at the beginning, in terms of this, you know, being able to be in this place with confidence, if not enthusiasm. And I just hope that that's what we're able to convey to our neighbors and our community members, is we might not be enthusiastic about this choice, but we are confident that this is the right choice. We put a lot of time into this, and I think that I hope that there's respect for that process that we have gone through and the time that we've put into this. So that's what I would say. Thanks.
Thank you. Erin and then Claire.
Yeah, I just would like to say that I was very pleased with the overall process, and I actually really enjoyed being part of these meetings and discussing all the different aspects and hearing all the really expert opinions and background from a lot of people. So I really enjoyed the overall process for the last 14 months we've been together.
Thank you. Claire and then Bill.
I know I did not start the process with you all, but I have been really grateful to sort of see how this committee has grown and developed over the last year and a half. I also just want to echo the thoughts of, you know, thanking everyone for their time and their efforts, including the members of the public who came and sat through these meetings, not even having to. It is definitely a lot of time that we've invested in this process, and I'm very grateful for the connections that I have made personally through this committee, learning more about the past connections that I share with Janine and with Maggie, and learning more about some folks who I didn't know prior to meeting them on this committee. And I'm really looking forward to sort of seeing this through to the end. I know the Concom is going to be pretty heavily involved as this project eventually moves into permitting. So I'm sure I will see all of your faces again at some of those meetings, but I am sort of looking forward to seeing the fruit of our labor.
Great, thank you. Bill and then John.
Thank you. And I've said this before, but just to let everybody know, the people who are already involved in the many committees that are represented on this particular committee, to just really acknowledge the time that you spend in service of the town. This has really been a privilege to work with you. And I understand the one thing we can't ever give back to you is the time that has been on this. And I just want to say, I feel like this time has been very well spent. And I really, really appreciate you guys being part of this committee. Thank you.
Thank you. John and then Jeremy.
Can I just say ditto to what Bill said? Because I think he summarized it well. There's a lot of volunteers, giving time to make sure that things are well thought out and the right information is gathered and the right questions are asked. And I feel like this committee gathered the right information and asked the right questions and got to, a recommendation that I think was well thought out. So appreciate everyone's time, appreciate everyone's efforts. And thank you for being part of this process.
Jeremy and then David. Sorry, David Lotting. Jeremy, are you there? Did we lose Jeremy? Let's go to David Lotting and then Seth.
Yeah, I like other people, I've been happy to be involved in this. I certainly learned a lot. It's not my preferred outcome, but I accept the decision of the majority. So we'll press ahead.
Thanks, David. Seth and then Martin.
I just want to thank everybody for participating in the process. It certainly is a lot of hard work to show up for over a year to a committee meeting and have that type of desire to do it. And that's sort of what makes, maybe Natick a little different than other places, that we do have a lot of people who do want to participate. The process is, sometimes not so smooth because it takes time to create consensus. And I felt that through the process, we're able to create consensus. And most important, all the committee members respected each other. The community respected the committee members, and it was something to be said. And thank you, everyone, for participating.
Thank you. Martin and then Janine.
Yeah, a lot can be said about the whole process, this 1.5-year process, and people have said that. And I thought I'd have a chance earlier to talk about the editing process. So I just want to mention that a bit. For the report, if at the last meeting, the last time we got together, I think I expressed concern that this report would be respectful and really acknowledge the feelings in the community that weren't satisfied by the decision. And I thought that the report would be drafted, and then two of us, as the minority votes, would do a minority report at the end, and that would be it. But actually, we were put on in the Google Doc groups that actually got to see all the back and forth comments as the report was actually created and edited and changed. And I think it worked out extremely favorably because through that process, and sometimes I would get on at 11 o'clock at night and there'd be people working on it. I'd get on 7 in the next morning and there'd be people working on it. And I had to just struggle to keep up with it. But through that, I think all of the disagreements, the factual disagreements, were resolved. All of the people's opinions were respected. And it ended up with just a couple of us had basically weigh our opinions a bit differently than others, and basically we agree on the basic thrust. If I can get a couple, not just one more minute, one example of that was the recreational use of the river, where originally I think the majority report said that taking down the spillway would improve recreation substantially, and the minority opinion that we wrote said it would be devastating to recreation. And in the comments in Google Docs, we kept challenging each other's positions until we actually said what we really meant rather than some sweeping statement. And we ended up with basically agreeing on what would be improved, what would be of concern, and basically we're just left with difference of opinion as to how important each of those factors were. So I think it ended up what I had hoped, that it would be basically representing everybody's views and give deference to everybody's concerns and feelings. So thank you all.
Thank you so much for that, Martin. I will note, just for clarity, that there were never more than quorum, right? Never more than the half of the committee was working on any draft at any point. We had smaller teams of people working at different points on different versions. That is great to hear. I appreciate that. Janine and then Terry.
I so appreciated the teamwork and collaboration that the process has engaged. And I remember that when the dam opened, there were thousands of people who came to celebrate. And I hope, I know we have a long way to go to get to the place where we're celebrating a new park there, but I feel our decisions and our the love that we've shown for Natick by doing this in-depth study and recommendation hopefully this will result in a similar continuing wonderfulness. Thank you. Thank you. Also, I want to say to Maggie and Ona, your leadership has been excellent.
Thank you, Janine. Terry and then Dirk.
Thank you. And first, I am on Janine's last point. Ona and Maggie, we owe you everything for the success of the project, because you elevated us and challenged us and sometimes gently nudged us, but I truly facilitated these powerful discussions. When we were doing an exercise called Natick 360 a number of years ago, what we heard a lot was people in Natick don't always agree on what to do on any given point, but we agree that there's something kind of special and precious here that's important to share and promote. And I think that the way this process has run has kind of been the embodiment of it. And at the risk of striking terror in everyone's hearts, I will say that it has gotten us not to the end of the process, but actually to the beginning of it, because identifying these steps is huge, and kind of finding that shared voice or the ability to exchange kind of honest disagreement is tremendous. And now we're going to have to apply all those things we've learned in the last year and a half in the process going forward, and trying to build consensus in the form and vision for the space around the kind of the reliberated river. And I think it's a challenge. I feel like we've been now we should be well prepared to draw on the experience that we've had and apply those to a wider circle of people as we take forward that enormous challenge. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Dirk and then Mike.
Thank you. I am an enthusiast for a wonderful, great, longstanding New England tradition of local volunteer government, made up of local volunteers who collaborate effectively with professionals who are inclined to partner constructively. And I think we've seen that here. We will see it going forth with more of this process. I've been involved in various aspects of that local volunteer government picture for some time, and others here have as well. I've known a few of you through some of those, mostly town meeting, some of those endeavors that I've undertaken, but I've met a lot more among this body of people who I'm just so impressed with. I'm just so impressed with everybody serving here. Each of you, and I hope to serve with any and all of you on in other capacities for our town, because I think as a body, there's no one here who has not been thoughtful, insightful, respectful, and with a calm, controlled, but nevertheless passion for Natick and for what this particular matter has meant to Natick. And I appreciate that greatly. It's been the most rewarding part of this whole thing. And as I said up front, I'm very confident recommendation and the report we're presenting, and that confidence has a lot to do with the people here and what we've done together.
Thank you. Mike, final thoughts.
Yeah, I will definitely ditto most of what was said by you all. It was a pleasure meeting many of you on this committee virtually anyway, and I'm sure we'll be bumping into each other around town. And I just want to just make note that I think I've been pleasantly surprised over this process that I don't want to put too hard a underline on this, but I think it took some real courage by many members. There was definitely a public swell, and with CBI's help, I think we stayed to reason and the perspective of the professionals that were being brought in, and especially maybe David and Martin, who provided a finer point on and provided nuance to our final recommendation. I think it makes it a stronger recommendation because it strengthens the town's awareness and hopefully their ability to improve the ultimate solution that and meet major concerns that our community has. So without them kind of stepping and making that step to say, hey, wait a minute, have we thought about this? I think that took some courage as well. So I think in the end, it was a pleasure, and I will echo, I guess, Terry and Janine's comments on CBI, providing the structure and keeping us going down the river of this process. And just, I think other people have said it too. I think we all realize that in a sense, this is kind of just the end of the beginning. So look forward to seeing most of you as we go through this. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike. Did I skip anyone? Committee members. All right. We're going to do now one very logistical thing, which feels weird, but if we do it now, we don't have to have another meeting. So stay the course. We're going to share with you, Maggie, can you share the link to the committee just in the chat of this? Do you want to do it this way, Maggie, of the Google Doc? And people take a look at our summary of what we've just done in the last 2 hours. And we're going to give you 5 minutes to kind of look through it. So I'm literally going to just set a timer for 5 minutes. And then you can let us know any tweaks and then we'll approve it, hopefully, before we wrap up. Members of the public, you don't have to stay on for this part if you don't want.
Is there any possible way to email
Yes.
me? Thanks.
Thanks for asking, Aaron.
I have one thing, which is in the next steps.
Yep.
Oh, I see. It says to help prepare materials and present. Okay, never mind. I didn't see the present. Never mind. I'm good with what it says.
I had a question about submitting the final report. Is the intent that we will just post that on the website tomorrow kind of thing? Okay.
Yep, we'll post it and then however, I don't know, with the planning team, I think with the staff team, we can figure out
To share.
how
it
do
with
we
the
get it
board.
to the select board, yeah.
Okay.
Maggie, somehow Kristen's not in the list of attendees. I think maybe we started that right at the beginning. Sorry, I can make that change.
Warren, did you say you sent an email?
Maggie, we didn't send it to everyone. Do you want that, David? Yes. of
I
course.
just sent it to you, David, so it should be in your inbox shortly.
Thank you, Maggie.
Okay, thanks. I'm looking at my phone and it doesn't say anything.
Got some slow internet in New Hampshire today, so it should be there in a second.
Maggie, do we want to move the next steps section just up? Oh, no. The next steps at the top of page 3 is in the process. So maybe we call that something different.
What about David Blees? Should he be mentioned in as a
I'm
as a
wondering,
vote?
I'm wondering that too. Sean, are we allowed to consult with him and get his vote. We pinged him mid-meeting to try to encourage, see if we could catch him.
I don't think we can. I think,
Okay.
yeah, we have.
Yeah, unfortunately, if he's not present on it, I don't think we can.
It doesn't change the number of people supporting the recommendation within the report. It just changes the vote on the report.
Thank you. So that was 5 minutes. Does anybody want more time to look this over? I know that's really fast. Sorry. Look okay? Any concerns? I got some thumbs up. Terry.
Terry, you're muted.
I have what is a annoying parliamentary point, which is, could we please spell yay as it's actually spelled, which is Y-E-A. So
Oh, you didn't like that?
it's me. So.
I thought we were voting enthusiastically, Terry.
And then the other is I was trying to come up with language because there are 2 sections called next steps.
Right, I was wondering about that.
The early next steps and the later, and for the life of me, I couldn't come up with something
We can just call it closing at the end if you want.
that might work. It just because if anyone ever refers to it as a part of the document or
there
part
you
of the
go.
minutes.
Oh, and we do have David Weiss who just joined us.
Yay!
David, hurrah.
I'm so sorry. You would not believe the line at the thrifty car rental.
Oh dear.
Oh my God. Anyway, I'm so sorry. I'm late attending.
We're like moments from adjourning. So you just caught
boy.
us. Right. So I want to ask you 2 things, David. One is for your yay or nay vote on the report. Everyone else
Yes, definitely.
said yay.
It was a nay for me. It was a yay for me. I thought the first draft was fine. I had some very minor comments, and I thought thank you very much to the draftees for doing such a great job.
Thank you. So that is unanimous support for this report. That's wonderful. Awesome. And David, unfortunately, you can go back and look at the recording to see the thoughtful final reflections from other committee members. But if you would like to share any closing thoughts, you have the floor. You're welcome. We have only 6 members of the public because we were just at the end of our here, just so you know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that we have come to the right recommendation. It's definitely the right thing to do. I've voiced my not concern, but dismay, I guess, at how strong the save the dam process or effort appears to be, and I foresee that as we go through town meeting and so on, it's going to be quite a struggle, but nevertheless, I think we've done the right thing. We've looked at everything from every angle, and I think it's a very good process, and thank you for everybody's participation.
Thanks, David. It feels like complete now that we've heard from all of you. Really nice. So David, we also just we just approved the meeting summary from this meeting. We were just in the process of doing that because we wrote it real time, so we don't have to meet again to approve the meeting summary. But since I think everybody was good with it who read it, we're going to just assume it's good, and that's a vast majority of you all to approve. And I think we're wrapping up. Martin?
I just want to, we could add after the 18 yay votes that the vote was 18-0.
Oh, nice.
Oh, really? Oh, that's on the report, right?
Yeah,
on
it's
the report.
on the
Yeah,
report. Yeah.
Right.
But even in the report, because
No,
of
I'm
how
yes.
we were doing voting, we had everyone supporting the decision in the end, just varying levels of support. Right. So that is how that came out. Thank you all. It's been such a pleasure to work with you. Maggie, do you want to share any final thoughts?
Sorry, I have like whiplash because I've been trying to type in. Normally I type in a jargon as I'm writing notes during these meetings, but trying to do it in complete sentences has my brain in a little bit of a twist. But just so grateful to have been a part of this process with you all, and just to hear how thoughtful and considerate and open and curious you all were in deliberations and with each other and with learning. It was really, really special, especially at a time where it was very easy to feel isolated. This was definitely a space of connection. So thank you all so much.
I think we should do a photo. I know a few people are off camera. If you can turn your camera back on, like, can we do that? And who's quick on the draw to take a good screenshot? Because my shortcut isn't working. Maggie's going to do it. So if you can turn on your camera, give a big smile, and we'll just have that for the record.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Perfect.
Thank you. It has been an honor to work with all of you. I hope to cross paths with you in person, on site, and in other places in coming years in New England as we all contribute to our communities in so many good ways. Thank you. Be in touch. We'll follow and support the select board piece going forward. Good night,
Have a great
everyone.
night.